Hey guys, guess what? Mom and I have problems. Want to hear about our problems? Okay, these are our problems. This is number 565. Matte finish. Nice. Nouveau. It's kind of pretty. All right, so I'm thinking of starting a new blog called, I'm always wanting to start a new blog called Tales of the Victoria Rose and the Jane Sanford House, which are the names of me and Mom's two houses. I own the Victoria Rose, and she owns the Jane Sanford House, which we don't have a plaque for yet. Hi. We're having coffee. This is our coffee talk, and the reason I was thinking about making a specific channel just about our houses. Now, I could just talk about my house, and that's a whole thing on its own. But they're kind of combined because we're dealing with both houses. We're trying to fix both houses, and it is not easy. And so, what do? We need an electrician. We need to know the codes in the town of Belfast, Maine. And so that we don't upset the code enforcement officer because I don't know why I suddenly jumped into that accent because that is not a Mainer accent. But anyways, because the code enforcement officer, they've made up new rules. And I want to know what their new rules are. Now, the guy's supposed to be calling me back very soon. How do we do this? And so Mom and I can both be in the video. This is my hard drive where I'm putting all my videos on this because we don't have very much room on this computer to make this whole big long series of videos, which I want to make, which is going to take, they're going to say I didn't take this out right. Oh, goodness. Okay. Mom and I have these two Victorian houses in Belfast, Maine. Mine is on Church Street. Hers is on High Street. They're huge old Victorian houses. Mine is on the historical district. It's on the historical walk. I have a plaque in front of it on the other side of the street that's in French because the Mainers wanted to do things in French. They wanted to have these French plaques kind of showing the history of certain houses in Belfast. The whole town is historical. And her house is old. What's the year on your house? Do you know?
I don't know.
I gotta look that up. But my house was built in 1835 and then allegedly finished in 1868.
Wow.
Which is a 32 or whatever year difference over the course of the time where they lifted the house up and I think maybe dug out the basement more, and then they put a turret room on one end, and then they put a fancy porch on the other, which has since partially come down. So, anyway, everything's made of wood, and wood rots and deteriorates and needs to be repainted constantly. So Mom and I are always struggling to get stuff done. Now, she's probably got better luck than I do. However, both of us are not having very good luck right now. So her barn was falling down in this easy-to-neglect corner. There's this corner of her house, of her barn in the back, where she really never visited because you just wouldn't visit that. I'm going to show you something. I bought these cards for you to write to people. They're really pretty. Look. See? Look.
Wow.
Okay, these cards are very pretty. They have a little heart on them. And I thought about putting a special saying on this card and then sending it out with a hat or something. Sorry. Just trying to, you trying to open that? Yeah, hold that. Good. Mom and I made a good team. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, that's
Wait.
Cute.
Yeah, really cute. Wait. Oh, okay. See? Isn't that cute? And I thought this was, an idea. They're really into these cards now. You can buy all these fancy cards. And I thought it would be, if I could do fancy calligraphy and really nice handwriting and write a special saying across the front or somewhere on that page, it would be something you would hang up in your kitchen, you know? And I like that idea. And I thought, oh, this would be cute if I did a special card with each hat, you know, and made a big deal out of each hat. So these are small. Mom writes these cards. Oh, thanks for all the cards, guys. We got cards from people. I put on my Facebook page that Mom could, you know, that Mom likes to write to people, and that she was a prolific letter writer, and that if anybody would write to her, she would write back. And honestly, since I've inherited Mom, paper letter writing has come back in fashion in our home. Now we write, how do I get next to you without crushing you? Now we write letters. So the discrepancy is that I hired this guy. Now, am I allowed to give out names?
Yes, I think
he's afraid I'm going to go around telling everybody he stole my oil, and he's afraid I'm going to badmouth him and tell everybody he took my oil, because I had two big tanks that were kind of getting rusty, and they were two-thirds to three-quarters full of oil, both of them. He said there was about 250 gallons worth of oil. Well, at $3, let's see. I don't know how much oil is right now. Where's the calculator on here? But $250 gallons times $3 and whatever cents. It's a pretty fair amount of money. Gosh, 250 times 3 is 700. Well, that's 750 plus. So it's more than, it's probably almost $1,000. And I paid top dollar for that oil. And it was sitting there, and he wanted to remove the tanks. Well, I didn't really want to remove the tanks that much. I was more concerned about putting my house to code. And he wanted to remove the oil tanks, and I think it's because he wanted the oil. Because he went in and took the oil. Now, my son was there, and he was like, oh, he's taking the oil. And I'm like, okay, I guess. But, I mean, I didn't really know what he was doing because I wasn't there. And then my son, he didn't get there till like the end of the day, and he said they were already gone, or he saw what they were doing. But in the end, the guy he charged me for 2 days, and you can tell me if you think this is okay. He charged me for 2 days of work, 8 hours each day, January 9th, 2 guys, 8 hours to siphon off my oil. 8 hours. I don't know what he's paying those guys, but I'm sure he's paying them 10 to 15, 20 bucks an hour. I don't know what he's paying them. Excuse me, if not more. So then I get this bill in the mail that shows one day, January 9th, 8 hours, 2 guys, and then January 11th, not the next day, but the next day. So he skips a day, doesn't have them work at my house, sends them somewhere else, or I don't know what they did, and then he sends them back to my house to finish the job. Guys who don't finish a job and put it off to the next day, I don't like that. I'm not there, and I feel like they're taking advantage of the fact that I'm not there. Of course they love it when I'm not there, because then they don't have to deal with me. I think they just want to do whatever they want and then send me the bill and make me pay the bill. And I get it. I understand that that's what they want, and if I had any control over what they were doing, that would be one thing. But the thing is that I was told by my electrician, who just bailed on me, as all the electricians bail. There are no electricians up in Maine that show up unless they feel like it, or they like you, or they feel like it, or they have nothing else to do, or I don't even know. So Mom's fidgeting. I gotta wonder where she's putting everything. She gets bored and she likes to move around, and she moves stuff around. She putters. Put some here, put some there. No, she really just kind of shuffles things. It's funny. She's getting her exercise, honestly. So in the end, he sends me a bill for $960 to take the oil out of my tank. Oh my God. Oil I paid for. and says, "Oh, this oil's no good because it's all rusty. It's terrible oil. I'll take it off your hands and trash it." Well, the truth is that this crappy sediment falls to the bottom of the tank and the good oil's on top. I just paid top dollar for it not that long ago. It can't have gone bad that quickly. And if it is, there's something really wrong with my system. But this guy's trying to just take... I hired this man. I hired him in hopes that he would help keep my house and my mom's house safe. I showed him all of the houses. He came over several times. He promised me and agreed that he would take on these jobs. My mom's house was very serious because her barn was falling down, and he said this isn't going to make it through another winter. And he promised me at least 4 times, if not 5 times verbally. He likes to do business verbally and doesn't like to do things in writing. He hates texts. He doesn't respond to emails. He'll send me a bill, but he won't respond to an email I send back. And then, so what happened was my son was, I asked him, hired him to be my eyes and ears, which this contractor also used the term eyes and ears. But then my eyes and ears, that's one thing. My eyes and ears is not the decision maker. My eyes and ears is my guy that goes out to tell me what's going on, and then I'm the decision maker because I'm the homeowner and I'm the one paying the bills. So instead of my eyes and ears, he sort of let me know what was going on, but he wasn't really there. And when I said, well, what'd they do today? He said, well, they left. And they left at like around 2. So I know they didn't get there at the crack of dawn because it's freezing cold in Maine. So there's no way he worked 8 hours that day. I don't believe that. And they take a lunch break anyways. I know those guys. I know how they work. I've worked with many guys up there. And so it was the second day, 3 guys at 8 hours. He charges me to remove the oil. Like what, with a tablespoon? I mean, how is he removing the oil? In a little cup? And he puts it in, according to my son, he had only small containers, so he had to make 1 million trips. So I'm being charged for him to pay his guys to clean off the top of the oil in this little way of tiny little containers and then take it to his friend's house or his house. He wouldn't tell me where the oil was. I said, well, where's the oil now? He goes, it doesn't matter where it is. I'm like, yeah, it does matter because I paid for the oil. Where is the oil? And he's like, he wouldn't tell me. Oh, it's in. I said, well, what's it in? He's some kind of gallons, 5, some kind of tanks, 5 different tanks. He's like, I'll bring it back and I'll pour it back in your filthy drums if you want. He also cut the drums in half, but he didn't remove them. And now he's like, then he threatened to pour the oil back in the rusty tanks. And it's like, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to pay you to remove it. It's like, if you wanted to remove it, great, I'll pay you to remove it. But I still want the oil to be sold. Like, I can sell that oil for half price. I was told that. What I should have done, if I'd known, if I'd had a chance to actually talk about it, because what happened was my son and this guy, they made the decisions between them and then sort of told me half-assedly where I was like, okay, I guess. We're not really understanding what they were doing. I didn't really understand that he was just taking this oil that I had purchased not long ago. Yes, I want to get off my oil system, but that doesn't mean I want to give it all away when I could get some money back for it. I have a lot of expenses. Why should I give all this stuff away? He took all the radiators out after letting them break, which he blames me for, but I hired him in good faith to help me keep my house from freezing. That's what I hired him for. Why? What else would I hire him for? To take my oil? And to let my radiators get destroyed? Because he didn't understand that I wanted him to help save my house. He thinks the only way to deal with a house is to drain it and shut it down for the winter. He doesn't understand keeping it going and having tenants, even though he told me he understood that because he said he had tenants himself. So if your business is having tenants, why would you want to kick all your tenants out and shut the place down? That's not the solution. The solution is get a heating system that works. So he thinks that because I didn't want to pay $5,000 to this one guy to fix the chimney and the other guy that he had offered to do it for $2,200, but he didn't want to send me this guy. This is another where we're discrepant because he said, well, Evan will do it for $2,200. And I was like, wow, let me talk to him because that's different. That's a lot less. Maybe I would consider doing it. And instead of sending me Evan, he said, no, you didn't want it. So then he proceeded to allow my system to get broken. I mean, honestly, I don't know how he missed the fact that I wanted to save my house from getting my pipes frozen. I don't know how anybody would miss that. I knew that if I didn't get heat in that house, proper heat, that the pipes were going to freeze, and I did my best to get it, and I kept waiting for the electrician to show up, who said he would come in October. He'd do his best. He didn't. He came at the very end, and he only did one thing. He charged me $90, which means he was probably there an hour or maybe an hour and a half, and he connected up the heat pump to apartment 3. That's all he did. He charged me $90. Okay, I paid him $90. As soon as he sent me the bill, I paid him. I like to pay them immediately. I don't like to make them wait, but I also don't want to pay for something they didn't do. So I don't believe that his 2 guys and his 3 guys on the 9th and the 11th worked 8 hours. I've never known these guys to I mean, they might pull all-nighters in different circumstances, and maybe one night they did stay for hours and hours and hours after because they were draining my pipes, and then they wanted to move. And all of these radiators, these beautiful antique radiators, burst and then leaked water all over my beautiful hardwood floors that I've been trying to preserve since I bought that house. That makes me cry a little bit. Which was really a ceiling in an old mansion that turned into a floor. You know, and then later he's like, I didn't know you wanted me. I never said I'd manage your house, which I did ask him if he'd manage it, and he did say yes, and then he took it back. He doesn't think he said yes. What else would I want but a manager? And I'm like, well, even if you can't manage it, can you just be the handyman? I don't need a full-time manager. I just need someone to show up when a disaster hits. You know, he ends up dragging all of I wanted the radiators gone, but I find out later they're worth $200 to $300 each in good condition. Would have been worth it to get them out in good condition, because if you have, I had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, I had 10, at least 10, if not 11 radiators. $200 to $300 each is a couple $1,000. $2,000 to $3,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that I could put toward my other projects. The house, it needs a ton of work. I need an electricity overhaul. So I explained everything I wanted with this guy, whose name I haven't given out yet. He said he came with a team of an electrician and a plumber, and they were this great team, and he handpicked them, and they all worked together in this wonderful team, and everything's harmonious and great and fabulous, and I'm so happy to have this guy, and I'm like, hooray, hooray, finally a good, smart guy with an electrician in his pocket and a plumber who had to come back 3 or 4 times that day because the thing kept breaking. And the electrician didn't show. What the electrician does is he comes at the last possible second, or he begs one of his friends to come and do it. And so if you were there, Mom and I flew back for an entire month and waited for the electrician to come. I figured he could at least come a couple days or give me at least one day, because you can upgrade your 200 amp service in less than a day. It actually takes 4 hours if you just do it. And so he didn't come. He sends his friend, should I say his name? I feel like saying all these names, honestly, who's a nice guy. His name is Virgil. And he came and helped me install the heat pumps. But which was great. And by the time I was getting in the car to drive to the airport with Mom, he was asking me to write him a check, and he finally fixed it because he was struggling to get it to work because something was wrong, and he had to get his friends to come over and help him, and he was sweating it out. But he also started really, really late because he didn't know to do it. It was just so rushed and awful. In the meantime, I didn't have heat in my basement. I was told I couldn't use my oil system because of the liner. And I wanted to fix the liner in a different way. I wanted to use that bladder thing where you spray the cement around the edge, and the liner, and the cement goes around this bladder, and it's another way to do the liner. And some people know about it, and some people don't. And I was trying to find somebody to do it who knows how to do that. And my contractor interprets that as I don't want to do it ever, even though I was still trying to achieve that, because honestly, the oil burning system is a decent system to keep the house cold. It's just so expensive because corporate America and all the oil moguls had to raise the price so astronomically high, and made it impossible for me to pay my bills and earn any money, because the oil bill was between $450 and $700 a month. And I was paying all the heat, and my tenants heat was included. So they were able to turn up the heat, and the house stayed warm. It was a good system. He lets it, I consider that he let it froze because I asked him to help me not let the pipes freeze, and he just didn't come back. So then my son was there, and I'm on the phone, and I was going to come back after Christmas, but it was freezing beyond freezing, and everything froze, and I didn't want to drag my mom back there, and I don't even know. I actually had bought tickets on Delta, who told me they were going to give me my money back, and then who then said, oh, prove it to us that you should get your money back. And so now I don't want to go with Delta anymore. I was very surprised they were going to give me my money back because Mom was sick and we couldn't go. And it was just freezing and she didn't feel well. And the doctor said it's not good to fly because she wasn't feeling good. And now I have to prove that and get my doctor. I didn't want to drag her to the doctor. She didn't feel well. When you're sick, you don't want to, sometimes you want to lay in bed and rest. You don't want to run out. You need energy to go to the doctor. So this guy ends up siphoning off the oil in the slowest possible way, costing me $960 to take away oil that I paid $1,000 for. He thinks this is fine. He thinks taking my oil and charging me to pay his guys to take the oil in the slowest possible way is fine, and he thinks I ordered that. I don't agree. I didn't get the chance to just call Moonlight Oil or whoever it was and get them to come and siphon off the oil. They could have done it in a half an hour. I mean, they deliver that oil in a half an hour. They could have come and taken it out in a half an hour. Why am I paying these 2 or 3 guys for 8 hours to siphon off the oil in a container this big? What is he doing? All he had to do, he was like, oh my goodness. Then they saw the tanks in half to get him out. Then he says, oh, it was raining, so we didn't want to leave them out. We left them in. So they're still in. But he sent me a bill for oil removal and tank removal. On both days, it says the same thing. Oil and tank removal, 2 guys, 8 hours. Oh, and then the next 2 days later, oil and tank removal, 3 guys, 8 hours. And he sent me a bill for $960, which I stupidly sent a check in. Now I feel like putting a stop on that. Because I feel like I think he took the oil because he wouldn't tell me where it went or he gave it to somebody. So I was back and forth between fine, just take it. Fine, I'll be a martyr and I want my oil back, or at least let me knock it off the price that you took hours to take it. That's not okay. You can't just do whatever you want. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. He says, I'm not going to work. He told me he was not going to work around my schedule. I said, I don't want any work done when I'm not there. Every time that happens, it becomes a failure. I am not doing it again. I am never doing it again. I need to be there. That's that. I've told everybody that. My son knows that. Everybody knows that. So this guy doesn't care about what I said. He just keeps on doing it, trying to keep saying, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. But what he's really doing is just taking my oil. He's trying to sell my cast iron, beautiful antique radiators, which are now damaged, but still worth $50 to $60, according to my electrician. And this guy doesn't agree. And he's like, fine, sell them yourself. And they are heavy and they're a pain in the ass and I can't move them on my own. And I am up Schitt's Creek, but I also don't want to just have them walk away because I love the antiquity of the house. I care about the history. I'm interested in the history and the construction and the building of the house. I love the architecture. Those radiators were made in a special way. They're interesting, they're beautiful, and they work really well when they're not broken and when they're not, some of them needed help. I don't understand how cast iron, those beautiful big cast iron things could just have a crack in it and that's the end of them. I mean, I just can't believe that you can't fix those with our modern stuff. They're cast iron. We iron workers, iron working is something that we do, right? Don't we have iron workers? Isn't that what your son-in-law does?
Yes.
Iron and silk, iron, cast iron. He's an iron worker.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of taking those cast iron things, which are all sitting in my breezeway, taking up some room and looking awful. I have to go back there. Oh my goodness, And I was thinking about how can I reuse these cast iron radiators in a new way? Because they really work great when they're full of hot water. They just warm the place. So it's like, what can I do with these things? Can they be fixed? Do I have to sell them to the junk shop? He's like, oh, I have a friend who's going to give us a better price. What friend? I said, well, who? And what's the price? And he wouldn't answer me. He doesn't want to answer me. he's convinced that he's doing me and all these people all these favors, but what he's doing is he's juggling 10 jobs at once and just giving a
ripping
little.
you off.
Mom thinks she's ripping me off. She does not like this oil story. It upsets her. Of course, it's my fault, right? He juggles all these people at once and runs around trying to juggle everybody to keep, because these workers like to keep jobs going forever and ever and ever. Oh my God. I have to go to electrician school. Honestly, I think I really do.
You do.
I do.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to have to bite the bullet and go to friggin' electrician school. I'm going to have to go take some Home Depot course. I bought this house, so I had to rise to the occasion and learn how to deal with it. I never had the handyman husband. When I bought that house, I was all alone, and I was married. And he did some stuff. He liked to do. He helped with the landscaping a lot, and he also sanded this floor down, which is super rough. But he sanded and whatever. We did a few makeshifty things because we didn't have a lot of money back then. I had to fix a lot of very makeshifty things that were done not even properly, and I had to spend a lot of money on that, fixing the guy who owned that house before me. That guy who owned the house before me, Bill Quinn, he was a famous guy, character, a funny, weird character. Some people accused him of, I think he might have been accused of being a little bit of a perv. He was in theater, and he owned the house I bought. I never met him, but I think I knew him in a past life. I swear. And he was obsessed with that house, and he used to, and I think I hated him in that past life. And so in this life, we did not cross paths, but we ended up owning the same house, and we probably had a very miserable history together in that house. And after he died, he came right over to my house, and he was haunting it for 3 days. And I could tell he was there because I can tell when there's ghosts in the house because I have that psychic ability. And I knew it was him, and I was like, Bill Quinn, you got 3 days to process your life in this house, and then you got to get out of here because that house was haunted like you would not believe. When I first bought that house, I counted 31 ghosts living in it, dwelling in it, hanging there, and I was terrified to be in that house because, oh my God, it used to be so scary. It was like you could hear banging upstairs. You could just tell there were angry people. There were angry ghosts in there. There was lost souls. Mom, you want to bring me that thing with the red, the one in the middle? That one? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. This is one of my many different kinds of kombucha. I haven't bought this in a while, but I do like this kind. It's house kombucha, citrus hibiscus. Very delicious. Kombucha is all the rage. It is all the rage. My daughter bought this one. This one tastes like ginger ale. This one's a little more sweet than what I like, but free ride hibiscus fruit. Revive kombucha. So this guy is now worried. So what happened was my son was there, and he asked my son for confirmation that he could take my oil, and my son said yes, and that he could take all of the materials and take them to the dump or sell them. And my son said yes, but I didn't really get to weigh in on that. They didn't ask me. I'm just the dumb female, honestly. Why would they ask me, right? Just because I'm ready. They just want me to write the checks while they do whatever they want, when they want. And then this guy actually says to me, I said, well, I didn't know what you were doing. You don't call me at the end of the shift. I don't know what's happening. He's like, oh, what? You didn't get an immediate response when you wanted it? Like as if I'm spoiled because I expect him to be responsible and get back to me. And then this guy seemed so great. But he makes people wait and wait and wait. And his thing is you just have to wait and you have to learn to be patient. And that's the motto of all of Maine. They're like, you're going to have to wait. So your house freezes while they're making you wait. And these are great guys? I mean, I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. First of all, he should have said, I'm not coming until after your place freezes. Then he said, oh, I didn't know your place was empty. It's like, how could you not know that? I told you. First of all, he came over. Second of all, I mean, this is when you juggle that many things, you can't keep it straight. He doesn't like anything in writing. Except he wants the $62,000 in writing. He wants that contract signed. But all the rest of it, all the little stuff, he wants to just do as he feels like it and then have me write him checks. And he doesn't want to outline anything. He said, oh, everybody wants me to give them details on how this is broken down, but I don't want to take the time. It's too much time. Starts whining almost. I'm like, that's a job, dude. You got to write down what you're charging people for.
That's right.
And none of them do. They're just like, moved this, $1,000, you know. They give you a general statement. They don't tell you what the details are, and all this money goes out, and they just keep, you know, and you're just so desperate to get anything done, and they know you're desperate. And when you live in California, or that they do, Mainers don't like people who go to California, and they told me that themselves. Also, all these workers, the hacker workers that I've hired, many of, I've had top guys and I've had hackers. The hacker guys who end up being my buddies because I'm drawn to hackers somehow, they all said to me that they would do anything they could to take advantage of people who owned houses on my street. They would do anything to take advantage. Because they figure we're privileged because we have a house on church. You can't own a house on church unless you've got enough money to pay the taxes. And they keep raising the taxes. And they said Church Street is hit the hardest. So they really nail us on Church Street who have the financial burden of supporting these giant old houses. And if we don't do it, the face of the town goes down. If we don't put our money into beautifying these houses, the town's not going to look so pretty, you know? So punish us by making us take the burden of all the taxes? Well, okay, I'm a little bit of a socialist. I understand that the richer should pay more than the poor. I get that. I'm in favor of it, actually. If I'm lucky enough to have more, I can contribute more. But I don't like the fact that they put the burden, so they put the burden on me in houses like mine, on Church, which is a beautiful street. And it is a pretty street. And it's a nice, big, wide street. And let's face it, it's a pretty street. And I have a barn. Mainers value a barn very highly, and so do I. And that's why I bought my house with a barn. And Mom's house has a beautiful big 3-story barn. And barns are rare, and barns are special, and barns are storage, and you can put an apartment in a barn, and a barn is a valuable thing. And I honestly bought my house because I love a barn, a big, beautiful barn. My barn isn't perfect because the beams are too low across. I can't do any work when I'm not there, and this guy doesn't want to do anything while I'm there. And I said, well, I want to work in the spring when I'm there. He said, I'm not going to work around your schedule. I was like, well, why not? I'm paying you to work for me. He's like, but he goes, I said, that's not fair. He goes, yes, it is. I have to work around my schedule. I mean, this guy really thinks that's okay. I'm like,
get rid of him.
And he's like, you have to wait for me because no one's around to do this work for you. So you have to wait for me. That's his, and my son actually bought into it. Because he doesn't know. What does he know? This is the first time he's really been on site working with somebody who's talking him into believing it's okay to take somebody else's oil and sell all of their radiators and get rid of everything, take the cash, and too fucking bad about you, sister. You went to California, so you don't count. He even said to me, you're in California. See, they all say that. You're in California. They hate people who move to California. I didn't fully move. I still go back east in the summer, so I'm bi-coastal. They probably don't like that because I'm not paying my dues in the winter. Well, let me tell you, Mainers, I paid my dues in the winter. I lived in Maine and suffered, and I had many scratches and marks and bruises on my face and my knees from falling on Maine's wonderful, precious ice. So I have paid my dues. I lived in Maine for 18 years. How long did I live in Maine? Was it 18? Was it 18 years?
I don't know.
So I don't feel like so they don't like you. They're like, you don't get to enjoy Maine summer if you don't pay your dues in Maine winter. You gotta suffer. And I suffered. You know what? I never took a vacation ever in the first 18 in the winter. I never left the state of Maine because I didn't like to travel in winter and I was afraid to get on the road. So everybody else is going off on their vacation in the Bahamas or wherever they go. And everyone's they pictures on Facebook in their water and their big floaty, and they're all out in the turquoise blue water in the sun, and I'm freezing my ass off with my depression levels getting higher and my serotonin levels getting lower, spiraling down into a deep, dark depression because Belfast gets depressing in winter. I mean, that winter goes on and 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 on. You never see the light of day until May. You don't see the light of day till May. That's my second poem of the day. And that one too. I wrote a poem. My son called me back. He liked it. It was 2 lines. It said, well, 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 isn't life hell? Mom really likes that one. And then he was all, after bitching me out yesterday, basically being like, you're a psycho. No one should have to work for you. You yell. No one's going to do anything for you. And so I was like, and he made me so mad. And he's just like, I'm going to stay at my dad's and not go up there to help you in Maine because you yell. He has no concept, much as I love him and great as he is, that these are his inheritances if he just put in a little effort. It's like, you get to own these beautiful houses if you help me maintain them. This is an opportunity for you to learn about house maintenance at my expense, because the high school didn't teach you anything about house maintenance, which is a flaw in our country. A very big flaw that we are not taught as high schoolers, as teenagers, because some people move away from home at age 16, or even, they run away from home. Wouldn't it be helpful if they knew how to plumb their house or do some electrical work? They don't want us to know that. They want to take away our power to be sovereign and independent, and they want us relying on these other people who the CMP calls electricians rock stars. These guys are rock stars, he said. The CMP, I had talked to that guy for an hour. Very nice guy. Very nice guy. I have very nice conversations with some people. It isn't always bad. I get mad when I feel taken advantage of. I do get mad. I get mad when somebody bails on their promise to me. I get madder still if they pretend they had no idea they made a promise to me.
Wow.
I mean, they promise me something, they don't follow through, and then they say, I didn't promise that. That's your crazy. That makes me angry and makes me want to cry and get upset and frustrated all at the same time. And then they walk away like, I'm the cat's meow. You're fucked, bitch, basically. Excuse my rudeness, but that's kind of how it is. It's like, too bad on you. You didn't say the right thing, do the right thing, act the right way. You have too much money because you have a house on Church Street, which I struggled. Ever since I bought that house, I didn't have enough money back then. I barely had enough money just to get the loan. And I went forward because I just really love the house. And I saw it as a place where I could love and enjoy and live. And I just really love that house, I just really, really love that house. And I believe that I lived in that house, in an earlier life where I did not own the house because women didn't own anything back then in the 1800s. But I still loved it. But I wasn't allowed. I had no power. I was slaving to these men. I was some sort of slave to my father, this angry man who I had this whole past life vision in that house that I was the daughter of this wealthy guy who was an angry, mean man who died in the living room, smoking his stupid cigar, never giving it up. This skinny, fragile, weird man. Maybe he was Bill Quinn. Or maybe Bill Quinn was the husband who cheated on me. I had a very, very painful, sad life, but I really loved the house. Despite all that stuff, I just really loved the house. And I think I used to go out into the barn where the horses would be, and I would brush the horses to calm my nerves and pat them and pet them, and big hot horses, with their warm bodies in the barn, and I would sweep and sweep and sweep the barn. And I spent a lot of time in the barn with these big horses that people would bring their carriage. And I remember in the barn, that barn is like, I have memories. So I'm very energetically connected to that house. And I used to cry and brush the horses and release my tears over how sad I was that my husband cheated on me, and that my father was a bastard and mean guy. He was never satisfied. That my husband ended up stealing the house out from under me, and I never got to keep it. I died of ovarian cancer. And if I'd stayed in that house, I had to get out of that house. But that doesn't mean I mean, I can get out of the house, change my energy, cleanse the house, heal the past, and go back to the house and enjoy it. And I remember feeling like, oh my, when I bought that house, even though I was stressed to the max and I aged 10 years buying that house, and I was overwhelmed because I knew needed to do all this work and I wasn't a handyman and I didn't have a handyman by my side and I had to hire all that. And the only guy I could hire was Richard Klemoff. And you kept saying, you are not going to be able to pull this off because you're not going to find the men you need. You said that before I bought it. I was like, what should I do? Because I wanted to buy it so bad because I loved it, even though I was terrified of it. As I'm not a handyman. I had to learn to become a general contractor for myself.
Did Richard help you?
Oh my God, all the time.
Oh,
Stoner Richard,
right,
would come over late,
right.
spend 2 hours having coffee, then we'd do like one thing.
That sounds like him.
But at least he came over at all. And he was $15 an hour.
Wow.
And half the time he'd take a meal instead, And I wasn't broke, but I'd finally inherited enough money to buy the house. Or no, I didn't inherit it. They gave me that. His dad's girlfriend shared some of the loot. He gave his girlfriend, this young girl, all this money, and she shared some with me. And
that's how you bought the house?
Mm-hmm. She shared enough for me to make a down payment and get started on the work of it and make some mortgage payments. So that's how I know. If it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have been able to buy that house. But it was a struggle, but I had this sense of, oh my God, I finally own this house. It's finally mine. It's not my dad's or my rotten husband who's cheating on me with my sister. I think it was even a terrible story back then. I'm still wounded from that. But anyway, I'm still processing that, still dealing with that on a soul level. But I bought but on a deeper level, it was like that house I belonged to. Once I bought it, it was mine. And I was very proud of that because it was now my house that I had control over. So when other people try to take over the house, I don't like it. And why should they? It's not theirs. They're not paying the bills. So it's my house and I am allowed to be the authoritative figure. But men don't like it when a woman is an authoritative figure and they still will go to each other for decision making and bypass the female altogether. I'm still dealing with that, despite the fact that in these modern times, I as a woman am allowed and able to own a house on my own right. And just like you did, you had your own property, finally. Because, back then, a lot of times men would not put their wife's name on the house, the property. Oh my God, we have dealt with such sexism. Now finally, then you finally broke free and able to get your own things in your own name. And then I was too. And I'm still struggling to get, the workers I need because they're just not there in Maine and no one's teaching them. The high schools aren't teaching them. The middle schools and the high schools should both be teaching hands-on shop to every single kid, male and female, hands-on shop. Give them a chance to work with their hands, touch the wood, build something electrical.
Have you told them?
I'm trying to do it now. I do. Yeah. It's like, this is my way of trying to get that started. And I have said that in my blog. I need to write a letter to every I need to write like the universal letter to the high schools and probably to the politicians I just found out that Belfast is actually all the decisions are by five guys make all the decisions. A council of 5. What happened to the council of 12? 5 runs all of Belfast? There's 6,000 people in Belfast. 5 guys. They don't even have one for each 1,000. They should have at least 6. Doesn't seem right, does it? And he said it's been going on for 125 years. Well, just because something is an old style doesn't mean it should be kept. In fact, probably it should be abolished if it's that old. It's probably a bad, corrupt idea that serves only men. And there's only one woman on it. And the rest are men, I think. Mary Mortier, and then there were some other ones. Mike Hurley's on it. These other guys I wrote down. I don't know all of them, but so, gosh, 44 minutes of this Victoria Rose ramble. So then Mom's house is a whole other story, and we're trying to get guys to help us with both houses, and we are failing miserably. Despite the fact that we have boat builders in the family, somehow it's still my fault that the mom's house is falling down. So I am asking the world and the universe and the multiverse and the mother goddess to please send us the right guys who are smart, have common sense, are honest, do not want to steal my oil without paying for it, or at least asking me, who respect me and don't give all power to my son, who isn't even there. I'm not there either, but neither is he. So he's not there either. So when he's there, it's helpful, but when he's not, it's like the whole point of life is being there. It's showing up, isn't it? That's half of it. If you didn't go, you didn't take the test, you're an automatic F. If you don't show up, it's an automatic 100% zero. If you at least go and you do nothing, and then you could maybe get a 50 just for going. And maybe you can do something, like observe something. But if you don't even go, you did nothing. You did nothing. And if you left early, you also did nothing, in my opinion. Well, you did a little bit more than nothing. You did more than nothing, but if you don't stay till the end of the day and see what the final thing was and make sure the doors are closed. These guys also left the doors all open.
Oh, God.
My son, who is also a door lever opener, he noticed that they left it. I got to go back there and lock the places up. I'm sick of this. But it's freezing back there. It's miserable back there. It's not easy to get around. What do we do, Mom? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Please, Goddess. Please, Goddess. I do think the Goddess has kept me and Mom safe, because when the fires were burning out here, Mom and I were back there. Then the fires stopped and we were able to come back here. Then there were these mudslides south of here, but we were up here, so we were safe. And maybe it's because my mom gardened all those years and put her loving energy into the earth and the vegetables that fed her family. So therefore, Mom is in with the earth. And so the earth protects her. Sounds good, right?
That's good.
I mean, what do you think?
Sounds good.
I mean, I honestly believe that if we have a good relationship with this earth that we are standing on, that's our best shot at getting protected from disasters.
Yes.
I really believe that. There's no praying to Father God. He's useless. He is proven useless. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody who's benefited from praying up to a dead guy on the cross. Poor guy, but you can pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and get nothing. And you end up thinking that you didn't pray hard enough. But honestly, it's the fact that you're praying at all that's screwing you up in the first place. You know?
My goodness, I'm going outside to just look around.
Mom's going outside to look around. So, and Mom is almost at 48 minutes. So,
it's so foggy out here, Deborah.
Really? So, I guess I'll close this off at 48 minutes, and that'll be part 2 of the Victoria Rose and the Jane Sanford house. What do you think, guys? There's 48. Very frustrated. Give me your thoughts about the oil. I said to the guy, I said, if the guy is willing to pay me half of the oil and he could have taken it out in an hour for free, that would have saved me $1,000. You know, why would I not choose that? So I might have to go back there. I'm not looking forward to going because it's so freaking cold back there and everything, but I have to go. So anyways, that's it. Big kiss, guys. Love ya.